Shalom, back again with another lesson. And before I begin this lesson, I'd like to begin by giving all honor, glory, and praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Kodash. I want to give double honors to my elders and apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone, who rule well, where I've learned this truth from. I want to say peace and salutations to you, Archeum, you brothers out there laboring, pushing his word out in all truth and in sincerity, presenting your bodies as a living sacrifice, which is a reasonable service. I want to say shalom to you, Akwaf, meaning you Israelite sisters that may be listening, and also to you Israelites that are scattered across the four corners of the earth. You may look like these other nations, but your seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is the chosen seed line. So in this lesson today, I wanted to just basically touch on, it's a quick lesson, just touch on the coming prophecies that appear to be getting ready to be implemented in the earth. So, and I'm referring to the RFID micro chip or the microchip, the mark of the beast, which, there's been many videos that I've seen online being posted where people are starting to get the idea that something big is coming. Something, the digital system is getting ready to be implemented on the earth.
Cash means freedom. Cash is king. If you have cash money, that is ultimate freedom because you can buy whatever you want and nobody knows. It's private, it's personal. You can buy whatever you want, it's cash. But as soon as you have to use digital currency, there's a trail of breadcrumbs everywhere. They know everything you buy. They know everything. And if they can decide one day that you said something on social media they didn't like, or you go too much against the grain, and they turn off your money, and you can't buy nor sell nothing. Now, what do you think that sounds like? You can't buy or sell unless you have it.
It's starting to happen right now in Mexico. Access to your phone number is now tied to government identity systems that are moving towards biometric verification. This is no longer future. This is set in motion. Mexico has just passed a policy that requires every single phone number, prepaid, postpaid, eSIM, all of it to be linked to biometric ID. And when I say biometric, I'm talking about your face, your fingerprints, your eye scan, your digital signature. This is a system tied to something called the CURP, which is basically becoming a full digital identity profile for every single person. And when this comes to America, that means that your phone, the thing that you use for banking and logging into apps, communication is only going to work if your identity is verified and approved. And if you don't register for this, your phone is going to get shut off. The book of Revelation talks about a time when people won't be able to buy or sell without a system tied to their identity. If access to life runs on your phone, the most powerful thing in the world is the system that controls the access. Stay rooted in the word, because when access changes and systems shift, what you're truly trusting in is going to be revealed.
There was the professor, I believe he is. He speaks a lot regarding Iran, and Lord willing, I'll play his clip just to give you an idea of what inspired me to do this lesson today, which was in relation to the Trump administration almost proactively appear as if they're trying to collapse the global economy. Now, a lot of people are starting to notice that the global markets are sort of fluctuating in not in a positive way, but in a negative way that potentially can lead to a new Great Depression. Right, Great Depression. A lot of people lost a lot of money, and businesses went out of companies went out of business, and a lot of people went from being rich to being extremely poor overnight. Now, the current climate that a lot of people are in at the moment, the people are mourning, struggling with everything that they've got going on in regards to their bills. So I'm going to quickly grab that in the book of Proverbs, chapter 29 and 2. And it reads, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn." Now, the people that are in the rulership, which are these elites and these banking families that are ruling, the people are in a state of mourning at the moment. Nobody's happy at the fact that they have to work for, 80 plus hours to support their families because, prices have skyrocketed and everything has gone up in price and people are not earning enough money to live, right? So they just feel like they're just constantly working. There was a man the other day that set a whole warehouse on fire. I believe it cost like a couple $100 million in damages because obviously he wasn't being paid enough, a big enough wage to live on. So he set the whole factory on fire.
Should have paid us enough to fucking live. We may not get paid enough to fucking live.
So as you can see, it says here, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. So the people are in mourning right now, in a state of mourning. Now, the professor from Iran was saying that, we're on the verge of a Great Depression, another Great Depression 2.0, which will probably be a lot worse than the Great Depression that happened in 1929, right? So a lot of people, lost all their businesses, lost their money, they became poor. Now the new depression that's looming, people are looking to lose a whole lot more, which is going to cause a lot of people to crash out.
Trump is moving towards destroying the global economy and pushing the world towards a global economic depression, not recession, but a depression. And we're already moving in that direction, as you know, and hardship is coming, but it's not something that happens overnight. It's not it's not like when they bomb apartment blocks in Tehran or Beirut or Gaza, where people are crushed underneath. What these wars are doing is that it's creating massive shortages of energy and of petrochemicals and the fertilizer and so on, and other problems that are multi-layered. The money that these Arab dictatorships make, they go to the U.S. stock market, the bond market, they purchase U.S. goods. These are no longer happening like before. And so I think that the problems that this is going to cause will be not sudden overnight, but because we're already moving towards crisis mode, it will be quite quick.
Now, when the collapse comes, a lot of people are going to be made jobless. They're going to have to figure out how to survive. So a lot of people are going to turn to looting and stealing and robbing, by any means necessary, even if that means, robbing old ladies, But where the digital system comes into play, and a lot of people are starting to see it, is that once they crash the economy, they're going to need to restore some type of order, right? In order to restore that order, they'll need to implement the digital system, which has already been planned and being built over the last few years. Even now, as we speak, the digital system is getting improvements, right? So these AI data centers that are being built, these are all improvements to be able to control the masses, right? These 6G, 5G mobile towers, cell towers, are being implemented to make sure there's always a system in place, right? with the satellites. So you have your Starlink. I believe they're getting ready to launch a new satellite system called Amazon Leo, which is low Earth orbit satellites, which means you'll be connected via satellite. You know, I think they're introducing the O2. I believe it's the O2 network, UK network, which is satellite based. So when you're in rural areas where there's no mobile reception, no cell phone towers in the local area, you won't have any signal. It's like a black zone. But now O2's introduced this satellite system, or satellite phone, where you can still make calls and take pictures, but it's done over a satellite system. So these, you know, systems that are being introduced in the world today, they're going to aid when it comes to, you know, tracking people, right? So again, with this collapse, this economic global collapse, they're going to need to basically be able to keep track of everybody. So again, these are the tactics of these elite rulers, these Edomites that are in rulership at the moment, causing the people to mourn. To, you know, they cause the problem and then they introduce a solution, right? This is what they're known for. They're known for creating problems and coming with the solution. Now, the solution for them is this RFID microchip system, that Mark of the Beast system, which they're going to make people choose whether to accept this new system or to be ostracized and cast out of that system, right? So we're going to read in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, and we're going to start at verse 16, right? So it says, and he calls of all. So this is everybody, whole planet Earth, right? He calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, right? So the right hand would be the RFID microchip, and in their foreheads would be that brain chip, that Neuralink brain chip. I believe there's more companies out there that now offer it. So you had Neuralink is the main one. You have another company called Synchron that does the brain chip, and then you also have one, I believe it's called BlackRock Neurotech, if I'm not mistaken. You can search those up, but yeah, these are more companies that are introducing the brain chip, right? Which is obviously written in the scriptures as we've just read. When you read in verse 17, it says, "And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name." Right, so where it says, "and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark." So if you don't have the digital system, the digital implants, the biotech, which is that RFID microchip embedded in your right hand, and that brain chip, which obviously we've seen a lot of celebrities starting to push the brain chip, the Neuralink. It says here, it says, "and that no man might buy or sell." So without the RFID microchip, right, which is the system that these elites are getting ready to introduce, you can't be a part of the system. I believe in China they did it a scenario where people couldn't travel if you spoke out about against the government, or you did something that was deemed unpatriotic. They would basically ban your travel. They would ban you from entering cinemas and all this other stuff, right? So these are all events that have taken place in the earth and have been tested and already implemented, right? So it wouldn't be that big of an issue for them to implement it. Say, for example, the global economy collapse overnight, right? It'd probably be, you know, a short period of time where you'll be in chaos. Everything will go to crap. Everything bad will happen. But they would introduce a new system and say, hey, just like they did with the digital ID, they'll say, hey, sign up if you want to be able to access these benefits or these resources, right? So it says, verse 17, "and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark of the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name." Right? It says, verse 18, "Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 600, threescore and six." So that 600, threescore and six, that's 666, right? So when we look into that a little bit further, right, you have here, which is Strong's G5516, and that goes into chi psi stigma, right?
Strong's G5516. Chi psi stigma. Chi psi stigma.
Yep. So that's basically going into the 666. Now, when you look at the barcode, the beginning of the barcode starts with the 6. You have the 2 lines, that'll be 6. You have the middle section, which is also a 6, right? The 2 lines in the middle, and then you have the 2 lines at the end. That's also the chi psi stigma, right? I can't say it correctly, but that's what that means, right? Now, a lot of people are going to have to make a choice, either to choose that system and then go back to living the quote unquote soft life, or they'll have to refuse it. If they refuse that system, that digital system, that means that they'll be ostracized from society. They won't be able to partake, meaning they would have to be like pilgrims on the earth, right? Which leads me to my next scripture. So we're going to go to the book of Second Esdras. It's like, yeah, the book of Second Esdras, chapter 16. And we're going to read on verse 37, right? So this is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 16, verse 37. It says, "Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack." Meaning the plagues, when it's saying plagues here, it's not talking about like the bubonic plague or anything like that. It's talking about the destruction and the chaos that's getting ready to unfold, right? So murder, death, destruction, everything that's negative, right? Outside of it being actual plagues, but it's talking about the plagues that the Lord's sending on the earth, the judgments, and or the judgment that's being sent upon the earth. It's drawing near. It says the plagues draws near. It says, and they are not slack. So when they start to happen, it's going to intensify as it happens. Like more and more plagues are going to be on the earth. You're going to see people getting robbed. You're going to see people getting kidnapped. You're going to see people getting tortured. You're going to see, places like businesses being burnt to the ground, supermarkets, all kinds of plagues getting ready to happen in the earth, right? Now, verse 38 says, "As when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains, when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment." So this is giving you the reference of like when a woman is in her 9th month and she's getting ready to give birth. She has the contractions and then the water breaks, right? And there's nothing stopping that from happening. But as the baby, as they rush the woman to the hospital and they get, to the hospital, the contractions get closer and closer, meaning the pains are worse each time. They get closer, the pains are even worse, right? And it's trying to describe it in that way. Just like that is how the earth is going to be during that time, So as we continue in verse 39, it says, "Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth," right? So there you have it. It even says it there, right? As we continue, it says, "And the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side." So, again, when the global economy collapses, it's not going to be a kumbaya moment and everybody come together and we fix everything like you see on TV. It's going to be it's going to be like Mad Max the Thunderdome. You know what I mean? Minus the nuclear destruction that takes place. The nukes will come later, but when it first happens, it's going to be a tough transition onto that new system that the elites will implement, right? So as we continue on, this is verse 40, the point. It says, "O my people," right, which is the elect, the ones that don't accept the RFID microchip system, the mark of the beast. It says, "O my people," it's possessive, "hear my words. Make you ready to die battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth." So when you're ostracized from society for refusing the digital system, you're going to have to keep it moving. The reason I bring this up is because a lot of people on social media are now bringing up the idea that, they all sense that something big and something bad is coming. It's them spidey senses. Their spidey senses are tingling. You know what I mean? They understand that something's getting ready to happen.
Prepared for the mark of the beast? I'm just saying, are you prepared? Are you preparing yourself? because there's going to be a lot of people. These end times are here. And when that time comes to take the mark of the beast, there are going to be a lot of people that it just smacks them in the face. Because so many people are living and attached to material worldly things. So many people would not know what to do in nature. Some people would not know what to do with less. Literally, if they lost everything today, they would not know what to do. Listen, if you're one of those people that love material things, that love worldly things, how do you think you're going to respond to the mark of the beast? I feel like we romanticize, we fantasize the Bible a lot. But when that time comes for the mark of the beast, do you know that you're going to have to suffer if you don't take that mark? You're going to be without food. You're going to experience a time of famine. You're going to experience being literally stranded with nothing, lose all your belongings if you don't take the mark of the beast. I don't think people realize to the extent of what they're going to have to go through. So we need to start mentally preparing ourselves now. Learn how to let go of material things. Learn how to stop attaching yourself. Literally detach yourself from all your possessions so that it won't hit you in the face when it happens. Because I'm telling you, for the people that are used to luxury, you're in for a rude awakening. Get as close to nature as you can. Learn how to garden. Learn how to grow your stuff. Because I'm telling you, when that time comes, you ain't going to have nothing but some land to turn to. And if you ain't got no land to turn to, you're going to be real messed up. But even beyond that, start preparing yourself now. Learn how to live without. Learn how to live with less. Minimalism. Simplicity of life. You have to prepare yourself. Learn how to be okay with going a day without food. Start fasting more. Put that into your regular routine where you start fasting more and more and you start dying to the flesh and you realize we don't need food every day like we think we do. It's okay to miss a meal. It's not the end of the world. What you don't need to be missing is that daily bread. That's what you don't need to be missing. We are too content and comfortable with missing out on this bread for bread that we eat. No, this is the bread. This is the bread we need to be focused on. Listen, I'm telling you, for the people that's used to living in luxury, it's going to slap you like a ton of bricks. Start learning to live without. Start learning to live in simplicity, being thankful for the little things. Stop attaching yourself to worldly and material things. I'm telling you, start preparing yourself now before it's too late.
That spirit's gone out in the earth and people are starting to realize that something big is coming. Now, a lot of people are looking at the markets, like if the markets were to crash, then they've already tried to implement the digital ID system. Now they're going to make it mandatory. You have to either accept the RFID microchip or be ostracized from society. So a lot of people will understand that it's time to make a move, right? So going back to the book of Revelation, we're going to read in the next chapter. So this is Revelation chapter 14. And I'm going to go to the point, right? I'm going to read Revelation chapter 14, verse 9, right? So it says, doom for worshippers of the beast, right? It says, and the third angel, this is Revelation 14 and 9, it says, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, it says, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, his righteous anger. Right? It says, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. That's Yahushua, right? So, it isn't worth it. You accept that chip, you pretty much just consider yourself finished, right? So, as we continue in verse 11, it says, and the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Right? It says, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Yahushua. So I'm going to leave it there. I pray that this lesson has been edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. And with that, I'm going to close it there. I give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the elders and apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. And peace and salutations to you hopeful elect. And it's on to the next one, Lord willing. Shalom, shalom, shalom.